40 servicemen in the US Army on active duty have reportedly taken their own lives since the beginning of the year. That has surpassed the previous record set in 2008. While Barack Obama considers sending more troops to Afghanistan, soldiers between the age of 18 and 27 are falling victim to the psychological consequences of America's wars. Dina Gosowski's in our Washington studio tonight. Let's speak to her about this. Hi there, Dina. So why are these suicides happening at this rate, and indeed what can be done to prevent them?
Well, Kevin, we're hoping that Adam Kokesh has these answers. He's an Iraq war veteran, also a congressional candidate. He joins me right now from New Mexico. Adam, thanks so much for speaking with me. So when I was reading about this report, what really baffled me was that you have Army suicides at record highs, but then you have Army officials saying, well, we're not really sure of the cause here. I mean, we're talking about multiple deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan. We're talking about trying to fight an unconventional enemy, lack of intel as some veterans come back and tell us. So what exactly is it unclear here to them?
Well, I think what you get to is the great point about all this debate about post-traumatic stress disorder and mental health issues with U.S. service members and veterans right now. Is this great denial behind the cause of it, and they can't acknowledge that war isn't this beautiful, glorious thing that everybody who goes through it loves and is not touched by it in anything that any way that might hurt them or cause negative memories or have an impact in terms of the stress in their lives. And I think this goes to the larger case of what is our attitude towards our foreign policy, and especially when the American people are so detached from the true cost of war. But this goes back to the beginning in terms of Iraq and to some degree Afghanistan in terms of underestimating the cost. In Iraq, they told us the oil would pay for the war, that the war would essentially pay for itself. And there was no effort to estimate what the extra burdens on the Department of Veterans Affairs would be and what the extra burden on the troops would be. And I don't think anyone in the military really anticipated it going as long as it has, to the point where we have troops now going back for 7th and 8th deployments where they have no lives of their own in between. They only have enough time to, say hi to their wife and kids, get their head on straight, and they go back into training for redeployment. So, to those of us who can see that basic premise and see through that propaganda, it's really no surprise that we're having rising suicide rates.
Right, but it's also interesting because 1/3 of those soldiers who had committed suicide had done so before they were even deployed to Iraq or Afghanistan. Now, we can, of course, reference the Fort Hood incident. Mm-hmm. So what does it say when these soldiers haven't even gone abroad yet and they're already doing this to themselves?
Well, any other time in U.S. history when we've had this kind of levels of troop deployment for this kind of sustained period of time, we have had some kind of a draft or some other thing like in World War II where people were actually really inspired by a righteous cause to be more involved. And now what we see is really plummeting recruiting numbers and an op tempo that has been maintained by the same service members going back for repeated deployments over and over again. But that op tempo affects troops here at home. And in my district, we have a couple of Air Force bases where this has been really relevant. And I have met some airmen who are flying Predator drones in Afghanistan and Pakistan who are saying that the kind of op-tempo that they've been experiencing over the past few years, it keeps building and building and getting worse and worse. And because there isn't that drive for a kind of influx of new recruits, be it through the draft or through an inspiring cause for the mission today, they are really drastically lowering the quality of the people that are coming into the military too. You have an increasing number of waivers for what they call morality waivers or drug waivers, or people who score very low on the ASVAB, the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, and that's putting an added stress on the military as well.
Well, the Pentagon and military officials have said that they're really trying to boost efforts for these suicide prevention initiatives, but what is it really going to take?
Well, it's going to take a fundamental restructuring of the way we approach our military and the way we approach our foreign policy right now. And this is why I support the constitutional position, which is that Congress is the sole body of the U.S. government that has the power to declare war. And when they declare war, they create a budget, they create a mission, they create an enemy, they set the best military off in the world to go out and do their job and come home. And they make sure that they're taken care of when they get here. And what we have now in Iraq and Afghanistan are these open-ended commitments, these undeclared wars where we are occupying countries, the mission is unclear, and that greatly contributes in and of itself to the stress of the service members who are facing all of the stresses of normal combat, but without the single cause behind it or a sense of righteousness about what they're doing that gives them comfort. One One explanation for PTSD is that it is caused by one or a combination of three things: lack of confidence in your leadership, lack of confidence in your mission, and lack of confidence in your equipment. I still hear complaints about the way that the troops are being supplied and the way that the supply chains are going to support the troops in Iraq and Afghanistan. And, under Obama, the kind of indecision that he's exhibited, we don't have confidence in the leadership. And I don't think in either of these conflicts, most of the troops on the ground have had a real confidence in their mission because they don't know what it is. There's no end in sight when you say, you put out these vague goals for these occupations.
Right,
like
and of course
bring about a stabilized government, and then we're going to go home.
Right, and that's a major issue, definitely. Adam, I want to thank you again for speaking with me today. Kevin is going to be back to you. Some scary prospects here, and we're all waiting on Barack Obama's decision. And, of course, tomorrow, Karzai is getting inaugurated. So we'll keep you posted on all the latest from news in Afghanistan and here in the United States as well.
Certainly will. Dina Grossolski, Adam